Hello. That is, what's that? 7 losses in the last 8? No, that's 8 in the last 9 for the Vancouver Canucks, losing 4-2 to the Columbus Blue Jackets in a game where, look, the Vancouver Canucks were the better team, and we've done this. We've done this before. We've had this exact conversation just a few days ago. What game was that? There was the Canucks, and was it the Blackhawks game where they just couldn't score a goal, and they were the better team. They just couldn't capitalize. Well, the Canucks go out against the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're the better team, and they lose. They can't score many goals. They put up 41 shots, only score 2, and the Columbus Blue Jackets take it 4-2. And look, if the Canucks were currently a good team, and the Canucks were like in the playoff race, and let's say they're like 12 wins and 8 losses or something like that, right? And they go out and they lose a game like this where they're the better team, and they just couldn't get the bounces and things didn't go their way, but it's not the end of the world, right? And it's something that happens multiple times throughout the season. But when it is finally a game that the Canucks come out, and after a bunch of sort of controversy around the team the last couple of days, whether it's the Horvat versus Miller debacle, which might not be true, or all these other things going on, and they come out and they dominate the play, and they still can't win a game, which they continue to not be able to win games, whether or not they're the better team. It's an old story, and I'm sick of it. It's a game that the Canucks can't keep playing. Sure, they can go out and they can be the better team all they want, but at some point you have to get wins. You create your own luck in this league. And how many times have we seen the Canucks be the worst team this season and win? Not very often. I feel like there's been way more occasions that we are talking about the Vancouver Canucks being the better team and losing than being the worst team and sneaking out a win. And I think there's been like maybe 2 games where that's been the case, but many, many the other way. So the Canucks, sure, 41 shots to 21, but at some point you have to go out and win. So we're going to break this game down as we always do. Let me pull up my notes here. First period, it's Demko, Merzlikins, the goaltenders in this one. And Columbus comes out of the gate and they score 56 seconds into this game. It's Chinikov. And this is a goal that doesn't count because it comes back for offside. But it was really indicative of the game that was to come. Because Jacob Voracek beats Tyler Myers. Just straight up beats him. And then we have Chinikov who just skates around Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who completely loses him. Ekman-Larsson completely loses Chinikov, and so there's basically a forward skating in, there's 2 defensemen, and then there's a guy behind them, and the pass goes right through. Chinikov scores. Now again, it's challenged for offside. Travis Green getting the dub on this challenge here, but it's a total defensive lapse just less than a minute into the game, 56 seconds into this game, that the Canucks totally lose a play offensively on basically the first shift of the hockey game. But it doesn't count. Like I said, Dowling gets a penalty about 8 minutes in, which the Canucks kill off. Shout out Tyler Mott on this penalty kill. Excellent job. Basically held the puck in the Columbus zone for a good 15 seconds. Luke Shen had a iffy hit on this power play, but it didn't count as a penalty, so it was fine. The Canucks then get a great chance. Niels Höglander's rebound gets to Bo Horvat. Slick little move to the backhand in tight, but Merzlikins snags it with the glove. And then Werenski just gets mad at Niels Höglander for seemingly no reason. Starts giving the business to Höglander. Then Oliver Ekman-Larsson skates up to him. Werenski gives him a quick jab to the face. So Werenski goes to the box. Canucks at the first power play of the game. And on this first power play of the game, where the Canucks have been terrible on special teams, guess what they do? It's Tanner Pearson just absolutely forcing a terrible pass from the half wall up to the far point. It's Gustav Nyquist just intercepting the pass and having daylight in front of him. Elias Pettersson, Oliver Ekman-Larsson both trying to back check at this point, but Nyquist is just half a step ahead. He's able to get through. He's in all alone. He goes over the shoulder of Demko, and it's 1-0 Columbus with a shorthanded goal early on in this game. Now, the Canucks kept up the pressure late in the first period. Oliver Ekman-Larsson holds in the puck, and it ends up turning around. It's a 2-on-1. Vasily Podkolzin, Elias Pettersson coming in, a defender in between, and Vasily Podkolzin only scores bangers, and this has been the case the entire season. Every goal he scores is a banger. He goes in, he just rips it over the shoulder of Merzlikins, no doubt about it. except if you're Elias Pettersson who didn't know it went in, so he tucked it home after the fact. But it's Vasily Podkolzin's goal, an absolute beauty. And it was Dowling, not OEL, who held the line. My bad. But it was a nice goal. Vasily Podkolzin continues to impress, and it's 1-1 after 1. But the key thing here, the shots in the first period were 13-4 for the Vancouver Canucks. Let's go to the second period. Second period, the Canucks dominate the start of the period. Basically, the entire first 5 minutes they spend in the Columbus zone. But in that 5 minutes, they only get 3 shots on goal. And then Columbus comes back the other way. Shortly after, it's a point shot. It gets tipped. The rebound goes to Adam Boqvist, who is all by himself. No one on him, and he's able to beat Demko to make it 2-1. Canucks get a power play when Chinakhov puts it over the glass. They get a couple tight chances, but they don't capitalize. And then with just a minute 18 to go in the second period, the Canucks win the puck at the point. And this is an excellent play by Quinn Hughes, the classic where he just wrists it like a foot wide of the net because it's the only lane. And it's Tyler Mott pulling it back in, a great tip. His first of the season ties the game up at 2. So we go to the third period. Again, Canucks putting up pressure early. And by the way, shots after the second period, 29-10. Keep that in mind. We go to the third period. Canucks put pressure on early, but Columbus goes the other way. About 6 minutes in, once again, and a Roslovic shot from the point. Demko never sees it. It gets past him. It's 3-2. Canucks try to battle back the rest of the period. It doesn't matter. They score an empty netter. It's 4-2, the final score for the Columbus Blue Jackets winning this game. Now, you can look at this game, and there's a few things you can pick out if depending on what angle you're trying to take. If you're trying to take the positive angle of, okay, well, the Vancouver Canucks, they had a good battle, they had a bunch of shots, and the game just didn't go their way, right? If that's your argument, you can look at a few things. Shots were 41-21 for the Canucks. That's great. However, the Canucks scored 2 goals on those 41 shots. That's not great. There's some guys who really stood out tonight. Bo Horvat, he's got credited with 5 shots. I think he had 6 in this game, but they credit him with 5, which is good. But again, no goals, no points for Horvat. Other pluses on the night, if I have him up here, Quinn Hughes, I thought had an excellent game. He gets the assist on the Tyler Mott tip. He was all over the place out there. He played 25-40 tonight, almost 26 minutes of a 60-minute game. Quinn Hughes was excellent. Tyler Mott getting on the board is a big plus for the team. Not really for the team even, but I'm just glad to see Tyler Mott score a goal. Absolutely, it's hard not to love him as a player, but he had a great game. On the minus side, defensive lapses, and the goal that didn't count was a big defensive lapse. The rest of the goals tonight for Columbus, the Nyquist goal, the first Nyquist goal, or the goal early in this game, was just it was a giveaway shorthanded, right? It was a bad play. The defense, which is Pettersson and OEL, can't make the play. And then Boqvist's goal, he ends up all by himself in front of the Canucks net or beside the Canucks net to score. And defending just wasn't good. Sure, allowing 21 shots is pretty good, but the defense in general wasn't that great. And the crazy thing is, after all that, you expect things to be a bit of a gap analytically, and they're not really. Expected goals in this game were 2.38 for Columbus, 2.49 for the Canucks, although I think the empty net goal, they just count as one expected goal because there's no one in net. So I guess if you filter that out. But one thing I want to point out here is the Vancouver Canucks had 41 shots tonight, and their expected goals was only 2.49, right? So they're expected to be shooting well below league average based on based on where the shots were coming from. If you look at the heat map, which I'm not going to pull up, but because it's too much work, but the Canucks heat map tonight is so heavily focused on their shots coming from the left point. It is a big blue blob at the left point, and then a bit of a blob to the right of the net, like on the goal line, and then the rest is very spread out. So the Canucks didn't have a lot of high danger chances. In a game where they had 41 shots on goal, they had 7 high danger chances. That's very low. And when you have that many high danger chances, when the discrepancy is so low, right? When it's 7 for one team, 4 for Columbus, it's very easy for some randomness to kick in, right? If the great chances are 7-4, well, it's pretty easy for that 4 team to have one more go in. And it cost the Canucks tonight. And they've now lost, like I said, 8 of their last 9. Where does this put them in the standings? Well, I think the Kraken, did the Kraken win tonight? They might have. No, they didn't. I don't remember. No, they lost to the Lightning 3-0. But they are just 1 point ahead of Seattle with one more game played. 14 points in 21 games. The Canucks are just over a quarter of the way through the season now. They officially cross the quarter mark tonight, and they are on pace for less than 55 points. That's right. The Vancouver Canucks are on pace for 54 2/3 of a point this season. This is officially the worst start to a Vancouver Canucks season ever. Not just compared to the last 10 years, not just in Jim Benning's tenure, not in Travis Green's tenure, not in the modern era, not in the Rogers Arena era, not in any sort of era. In the last 52 years that the Vancouver Canucks have existed as a franchise, this is the worst start they've ever had. 6 wins and 15 losses. And again, this is based on points percentage. Back in the day, there was not shootouts, right? Those shootout, I think the Canucks have like a shootout win or two. Those would have been ties. So those would be 1 point less. So this is literally the worst start in Canucks history. You couple that with being 8 years into a general manager's regime, 5 years into a coach's regime that has been a failure at all turns. You couple this with allegedly battles between members of the team in the locker room. Matt Sakaris publicized this whole Horvat versus Miller debacle, which was then shut down today by Travis Green and JT Miller. They all said that's not true. So who knows who to believe? So there's strife. There's strife within the team. There's strife within the media. There's strife within the fan base. They're losing every game. 8 of the last 9. Remember that 6-3 win against Dallas? That feels like years ago. And there's rumors now floating around about Claude Julien potentially being a replacement, about the Canucks searching for new GMs potentially. Apparently they've been in the search for 10 days. And at this point, we just sit here and wait because there's nothing we can do. We're a quarter of the way through the season and it's a complete write-off. Like I said, Canucks have 14 points in 21 games. Let's say the Canucks need 94 points to make the playoffs. That means they would need 80 points in the last 61 games of the season. They would have to play at a 1.31 points per game pace. They're not going to do that. That would be over the course of an 82 season, 110 point pace. This team isn't capable of that. They're just not. I don't know what else to say. This team's done, right? Like they're so far out of the mix. If we look back at the standings here, they are now 10 points behind Las Vegas. A quarter of the way into the season, they are 10 points back of a playoff spot. Actually, no, I think Winnipeg has a playoff spot. So they're only 8 points back of a playoff spot, but Winnipeg has a game in hand. I mean, what do we do here? Like, do we just sit back and keep watching these games and be like, oh, well, these guys played well, these guys didn't, and things just didn't work out tonight. I mean, there's nothing we can do, obviously, but I mean, at some point, enough is enough. Like, this is getting ridiculous. We have been, at least me myself, I mean, I've been calling for a regime change for a while, but even this year, going back to 3 weeks ago when we're talking about, okay, this team isn't good enough to compete, right? 8-9 games ago, it was already too late. Like, it was getting to be too late 12 games in, and they've gone and lost 8 of the 9 since. So they have just fallen further and further and further behind. So at some point, something will change, but it's already too late. Because we're literally talking about a team having to go from a 55-point pace to a 110-point pace. This team needs to literally double their output in performance and in points gained to make the playoffs over the last 60-something games of the season. They'd have to go on an absolutely remarkable tear. They'd have to play at a pace that they have not played at since Jim Benning has been the manager of this team and since Travis Green has been the coach of this team. I mean, I don't see it happening. Could they at least make it interesting? Maybe. Maybe they go on a bit of a run, and by the time we're in February, let's say coach and GM are fired and a bunch of things change and maybe a couple trades happen, and then maybe by February we're looking at a team that is 6 points behind in February. So still out of it, but not crazy out of it. But I mean, they still don't pull it out, right? They still don't make the playoffs. I don't know what the Canucks were at entering this game. When it comes to playoff odds, normally I check it before the game, and I know a couple games ago they were at 4%. So I'm going to go on a limb and say the odds haven't gotten better since they've lost almost every game since then. I'll see if they're here, but I don't think it is the quick link that I was looking for, but that's okay. Either way, the Canucks are basically at 0% in my mind. Actually, I have it here. Let's see. Pacific Division. Coming into tonight, the Vancouver Canucks had a 3% chance of making the playoffs. And after this game, I bet it drops even further. So the season's done. I mean, I'm just kind of rambling at this point. Let's go on to your questions, your hot takes, your opinions, as we always do. Let me pull them up here on my screen. Blair says he's sick of being the better team and still losing. Yeah. And I mean, again, it comes down to creating your own luck, right? You can be the better team, but if you're not scoring goals is a part of the game, right? We can get into the analytics all we want, and analytics can be very useful in developing a team and putting a team together and X, Y, and Z. But at some point, you have to go out and you have to score goals. And if this team isn't going to do that, they're not going to win any hockey games. Josh says, wow, boys are buzzing tonight. Not going to lie, but fell short. Yeah, they were. And again, they were the better team. But we can't, it's way too late for moral victories. Agam saying 6-13-2, and Frank still wants to wait and see. I think the writing's on the wall. I genuinely think we are at the point where the writing is on the wall and they are too busy looking for a replacement. Everything that we have heard from the media over at least the past couple of days has been that the Canucks have been interviewing potential GM candidates, but preliminary talks with coaching candidates and seeing who's available. And in my mind, that means the writing's on the wall, but they have realized that this season is so far out of reach that there's no point rushing it. Let's take our time, find the right guy, and bring him in as we fire the coach and make it a smooth transition. There's arguments for and against that, although I'm not going to argue that it's too late. So you might as well, what's another 5 games, right? If it takes another week and a half, 2 weeks to find the right guy to fill the role, then why wouldn't you? But I mean, it's frustrating for us. Randy's saying, when is Julian named the new coach? Yeah, again, we don't have all the information on like when these interviews are happening or anything like this. I mean, we look at it going into the weekend, a Friday night, good time for the media cycle. I don't think it happens tonight while they're on the road. But we're looking at a Saturday. They play Sunday against Boston, Monday against Montreal. Now, those are 2 teams that Claude Julien coached. Maybe that would be interesting, but I doubt it's done that soon. But I do feel like every time I say, oh, well, it feels far away, it feels a little less far away this time. So maybe we're sort of on the cusp of something happening, but I don't know. If I had to put money on it, I would say Tuesday. On Canucks After Dark last Monday, Clay and I made our predictions on the road trip. I said the Canucks would go, did I say 0-4? I said 1-3. I have to go back and review it. But I said by the time we do our next show, the Canucks will not have won a game and Travis Green will not be the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. So far, they have lost both games. There's 2 left, Sunday, Monday, and Travis Green's still the head coach. I still think my prediction is a real shot. Anyways, Fangirl asking, should the Canucks hire a president to be a middleman between betting and ownership? Yes, they should. No, they won't, is my opinion. They absolutely should. I think ownership has always been a little bit too involved. And I think that's putting it lightly. But I think because of that, they will not hire a president because they don't want to give up that power. Now, again, there's more, potential strife within the Aquilini family. Speaking of strife, and, who knows if that has something to play in this whole scenario, but it definitely could. Meister saying Green needs to go. I'm not going to disagree with you there. Quattrop saying Canucks are always so bad at finishing. Execution's just not there. Yeah, and I think that's fair, especially in a game like this where they go out, they prove they're the better team, they dominate play, and they cannot execute on it. It wasn't like Merzlikins played out of his mind. Like, I wasn't looking to like, whoa, this goalie's being crazy tonight, right? Like that game against Thomas Greiss, or like the Fleury performance in Chicago. This wasn't the same thing. This was a goalie who played a good game, a solid game, but didn't have to work like crazy hard on these crazy individual saves where he's flailing the paddle out and getting a piece of it or anything like that. It was, it wasn't like he was facing these super high danger shots. Terrence saying cue the sad music. I don't have any queued up, but maybe for next time, if they lose the next game, I'll have something ready. Sonny saying tight games is when coaching has a drastic effect. So often we lose these games because we get out coached. Love the guy, but Green is gone. Even if the Canucks want to statistically save the season. And I think I've said this every time we've talked about letting go of Travis Green. And I think every time I have said, I love Travis Green as a person. And I genuinely want the best for him. Unfortunately, I also really want the best for this team. And I don't think he's the best for this team right now. And yeah, coaching does have a big effect in games like this, right? It's getting over that line. You can go, you can dominate the game, but you have to get over the line, score some goals, prevent goals the other way. And it just hasn't been happening. Jogpaul saying, is this the new normal for Canucks losing? I don't know. This would be pretty good as the normal. If the Canucks were outplaying the opponent and losing, I say Sunday against Boston. I don't think the Canucks are outplaying the Bruins. However, I bet they probably outplay the Habs on Monday because the Habs are really bad, but I don't know. It's tough to see. Mark is saying double the shots, triple the shots during most part of the game. We can't execute. Yeah, after the second period, shots were 29-10, tripling almost the shots of the Blue Jackets, and they got nothing done out of it. Patrick saying the coaching staff must go. Not their fault tonight, but big changes are needed. Yeah. And again, it comes down to, well, you got to do something, right? Dimitri saying you have to admire it, but somehow the Canucks found it a way to give up the first goal twice. Yeah. They give up the goal 56 seconds in on a goal that gets disallowed. They give up the first goal again, about 13 minutes later. Yeah, they are very good at allowing the first goal. Lots of people talking about how Pettersson gave up on the empty netter. Yeah, they weren't winning this game though. I mean, even like they weren't turning it around and coming back and scoring, right? I don't know. I'm gonna take a drink because I have food in my teeth. Let's see here. Debut saying, what's the last time it felt like we had a legitimate chance to win either pregame or during? I think this game, I felt it a little bit. But other than that, like the Jets game, they obviously won. But before that, I mean, it was the Stars game. Jordan saying Demko always bailing out his team, giving them a chance to win. Yeah, I don't think Demko was like crazy tonight, but he had a solid game. He was just hung up to dry a couple of times and he wasn't able to make a couple big saves. This was a game that was stealable if Demko played out of his mind. But he shouldn't have to play out of his mind for a team to win a game, right? Or at least take it to overtime, right? Again, it's another game where the Canucks scored 2 goals. Last game, the Canucks scored 1. The game before, they scored 0. If you look at the last 3 games, the Canucks have 3 goals, right? You're not going to win any of them in that case. What else should we take here? Again, I'm not going to take every question. We're not going to spend too long here tonight. Because I am looking forward to just enjoying my Friday night and not thinking about this team for a little bit. Agam wants to talk about Sakaris a little bit, and I'm not someone who wants to go out and start any wars unless it's against Rob Fay, who is my nemesis, who I've never talked to anyways. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this happens a lot, right? And I feel like I usually go to Sakaris' defense about... For those of you who don't know, Sakaris basically said that there's a rift between Horvat and Miller in the room. There's sort of like 2 sides of the room and there's a split. And then Travis Green came out and basically went vehemently against it. Usually I take the reporter's side and because usually they have a source, they can't reveal it. But I mean, it feels like this keeps happening, especially with Matt Sakaris. And again, I think he's a great radio host, and I enjoy listening to him talk. But it does feel like this happens a lot, where a rumor that he pushes ends up being completely unsubstantiated. So again, not saying I have any sources, but I mean, it does feel like it keeps happening. Patrick saying at this point, Pearson reminds me of Chris Higgins, up and down the ice with zero production and no abs, right? He doesn't even have the back, like the fallback of the abs that Chris Higgins did. So what's the point, right? Martyr saying, will Travis Green be fired today? I don't think so, unless it's happened. I see that Jason Bruff tweeted a picture of himself with a paper bag on his head, shotgunning a beer, and I really respect that. But no firing that has happened yet. But we'll see. I don't think it happens today. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in the next week, maybe in the next month. I have no idea. But it doesn't feel super imminent, but it feels like it's getting closer. Nicholas saying, watching the Canucks this year is making me lose my love of hockey. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm not excited to watch the games, right? I watch the games for this because I enjoy doing this part of it, right? Talking to you guys, hanging out, but I don't enjoy the 2.5 hours before that. And I don't think I'd be watching these games if I wasn't doing this at this point. And I'm amazed that there's this many of you that are watching the game still. Good on you. Agam saying getting shots is all well and good, but how many genuine chances did they have? And yeah, I think this sort of tells the story of this game, right? We look at the analytics side and high danger chances were only 7-4, even though the Canucks had 72 shot attempts and 41 shots on goal. It really didn't feel like they had lots of high danger chances. Lots of people talking about Pettersson, and again, I feel like we say the same thing every time, that I think Pettersson is in a real slump, and I don't think we should trade him, and I think that we should value his first 2 seasons, how excellent they were, or his first 100 games instead of his last 20 or whatever the numbers are. Terrence saying Montreal versus Vancouver. Who do you got winning? Man, that is the epitome of a stoppable force meeting a movable object. I wonder what the odds are on that game, and I'm going to see if I can pull them up. I should get a betting sponsor. That's what I need. If I had to bet, I think the Canucks win just because, of course, they would. They're going to win one eventually. Do they have odds up for this game yet? They don't. Unfortunately, I can't go custom date. They play what, Sunday? Or do they play Monday? I think they play Monday. No, I can't look that far ahead, unfortunately. But I would say it's probably, I'd say the Canucks pull it out, and it just prolongs the inevitable. Mark's saying that Montreal wins 6-2. All right. Marcus is still trying to sell his tickets. Probably a good idea. Mark's saying, how many goals was Pettersson on the ice for? I don't know. I didn't really look at that in particular. I can tell you that he was a -1. And they didn't score any power play goals. So he was out there for a goal for the Podkolzin goal, and I'm assuming 2 goals against, because I don't think he was out there for the Mott goal. So out for 2 against, including an empty netter. Keegan saying the systems put in place haven't worked all year. Green forces this team into a rut with the system he's running. No adaptation between blending lines. Time to go. Fair enough. Kai saying 5 shots in the final 14 minutes is simply unacceptable. Now, and again, the rest of your comments valid too, but this is something that I talk about this every single game, I feel like, where the Canucks, sure, they get enough shots over the course of a game, but they go on these stretches when they need goals that they don't get shots on, right? Whether it's a couple of games ago where they went 9.5 minutes in the third period without a shot while down by 1. This game, they're down by 1 the entire third period, and they get 5 shots on net. When you should be getting 10, because you should be, really, score effects dictate that Columbus should be playing sort of on their heels. The Canucks should be playing in the offensive zone. They need a goal. You need shots to score goals. And if you get 5 of them, that's not enough to score typically. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm beating the same drum that this keeps happening. Agam saying we're barely ahead of Arizona, who's tanking on purpose. Yep, Arizona has 10 points in 20 games. And they're only 4 points back at the Canucks. Canucks are unprecedented at tanking. 8 years straight, baby. What else we got here? Any talk about Hartley or Babcock is not. I am so against it, and I don't care about the hockey at that point. I don't want someone who literally, mentally, or any other way abuses players to try to get them to perform, because you don't need it. There's other good coaches out there. The Canucks are fragile, says Brad. I think that's probably a pretty fair term. BR saying Sutter turned Calgary around. Canucks have at least the same talent as Calgary. I think the Canucks and the Flames on paper, I think right now you can make the statement that Calgary's better, just because they are performing at this level. But yeah, you saw what a coaching change did for that team. They brought in a really good goalie in Jacob Markstrom, and apparently a really good backup in Dan Vladar, and their coaching has been excellent. And that has literally turned their team around. And we laughed at them for hiring Sutter. But it has worked. That is for sure. Let's see what else we got here. Again, I'm only going to try to pick the big ones. Gmod saying, Parker, I can say with confidence that the future is bright because it can't get worse. There's a lot of people who said that a year ago. There's a lot of people who said that during the shortened season back in January, February, that it couldn't get worse. It has. It's gotten worse. It can always get worse, which is crazy to think, but it can. So I'm not, again, it can get worse. I'm saying the next post-game review should just be a game of marbles. Yeah, it might have to be. Jordan saying Green's post-game take every time. I thought we played good, got pucks in deep, but they were the better team. Yeah, and I mean, at some point, what else can you say, right? I don't blame a coach too much for giving cliches in a post-game conference, because what are you going to say at this point? Ashton saying, don't want to be that guy, but Pettersson might be having a slump because he doesn't have Louis Eriksson. This is the analysis we need. Bring back Louis. That's what I've always said. Good take, Ashton. Honestly, though, I think that's pretty fun. Yeah, maybe it is because he doesn't have his boy Louis in the lineup. Although it's not like Louis was in the lineup a lot last year anyways. Kai saying we should really consider what the Avs did and trade away some older core guys with their values on all-time high. As much as I love Miller and Bo, I don't see us competing in their primes. I have a video that I'm working on about if the Canucks should trade JT Miller. I don't know if I'm going to make it tomorrow. I might not do that. I might do some Twitch streaming instead. So maybe follow my Twitch if you want to do that. If you want to hang out tomorrow, potentially. But I might put that video together on JT Miller. The Twitch link is in the description, by the way. Same as my YouTube. Go Canuck Gus saying, at least it was an early game. I can catch the live stream from Ontario. Gotten to the point where I don't care if they win or lose until they make a change. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't that invested in this game, right? I was taking my notes. I was keeping track of what was going on, but yeah, at least it was an early game, right? It's 7 o'clock. We're going to wrap up here in the next 5 minutes or so. And then it's a Friday night. It's going to be 7 o'clock or 10 o'clock if you're on the East Coast. Go out, have a good time, chill at home, have a neutral 7, which this is the worst flavor, black raspberry. But yeah, have a good night. It's the weekend at the very least. Nicole's going to the game Monday, and I'm not even excited. I am so sorry to hear that, because I was just sad at this point, right? And I don't blame you, right? You know, in Montreal, that should be a fun thing. Going to the Bell Center to watch a Canucks game seems like a sweet experience, but yeah. Agam saying, can Ryan Reynolds and Michael Bublé buy the team already? Well, Ryan is busy with Wrexham in the UK with the soccer. I don't think they have enough money to buy the team. Although Ryan Reynolds could get up there, I'm sure. Michael Bublé is going to get that good Christmas album bump on Spotify, though. That is for sure in the next month. Dave saying, why are Canucks fans jumping all over our team when Habs and Sens fans are comparatively quiet? Habs fans are not. And they, at least early in the season, they definitely were not. Sens fans are just apathetic because the team has been bad for a long, long time. We are jumping all over the team because this was supposed to be the year the Canucks were competitive. This was supposed to be the year that management, coach, owner all said this is a playoff team. They went out, they traded their first round pick to go out and get Connor Garland and Oliver Ekman-Larsson to make their team better this year. They pushed the chips into the table. There's no more real prospects coming. They are all in, and this is the result. 6 wins, 15 losses. That's why we're jumping all over the team, because we are 8 years into a plan that has failed and has failed and has failed at every single juncture. The Habs were in the Stanley Cup final last year against all odds. The Sens were, have a bad owner who doesn't want to pay any money, and they're in the middle of a rebuild anyways. The Canucks are supposed to be in their window, and this is what we're getting. So that's why we're jumping all over the team. Yes, saying, to be honest, I'm kind of glad the Canucks have had this start as much as I love the team. It really exposed a lot of the major issues. Hopefully they do something. Yeah, and it also gives you more free time if you don't want to watch hockey games, because you're not missing much at this point. Matob saying the Canucks' go-to offensive strategy is the point shot. Yeah, they do a lot of point shots. And again, you look at Natural Stat Trick. If you go to Natural Stat Trick, you click on this game, you go into the heat map. Almost, almost all the Canucks shot attempts, like the big majority of them come from the left point, and that's it. It really is their play. They play back to the point, and they try to get shots tipped. It's a low percentage play that doesn't work very often. It worked once tonight with the Tyler Mott goal, but if it works once a night, and that's where all your shots are coming from, you're not gonna win games, because you're only gonna get one goal every night. Vaughn saying, I don't understand how Bo has avoided so much criticism. He's gotten a lot of criticism in the last week, especially. He has been kind of in the crosshairs the last week. So I kind of disagree with this. I gave Bo some flack a couple days ago, but he did have 5 shots tonight. I don't think he's the reason they lost. I thought he was fine tonight. But he has been in a bit of a slump lately. That is for sure. Liam saying, do you think Pettersson's effort might get him scratched in the next couple of games? I mean, it definitely could happen. I don't think it does. But I wouldn't be too surprised. R. Grant saying this road trip should change things. It should. I mean, the homestand should have changed things. The road trip before that should have changed things too. But I mean, what are we waiting for, right? Danny's saying he made a complete switch to the NFL. Canucks. Someone got me to watch this year. Is Aquilini Fettuccini still boss? Okay. Well, you're not missing much, to be honest. He is still the boss. He's still running the show when things aren't going well. Craig Button said Green System as the offense trying to protect the blue line and not going full off the rails offense. Do I agree with that based on the eye test? I mean, that would be fair if the defense was playing well because of it, but they're not, right? That's an interesting strategy if you're still going to allow like 35 shots against a game, because you're still going to lose every time. So maybe. Let's see. I'm going to take 2 more here. Let's see what I got. Lots of sadness, just sadness. AFC Young, Wild fan here. What's the price for JT Miller? This is a good question. I like this question. The price for JT Miller should be high because he is up there in points in the NHL. Where does he rank in points in the NHL? He is 29th. He was literally tied for 10th last week, but he hasn't gotten any points the last 2 games or so. But 19 points in 25 games or 21 games. He's the only one out competing. The rumor from Ben Kuzma's article in the Province was that if the Wild were interested in JT Miller, it starts with Kevin Fiala and there would need to be another piece. So it would be something like Fiala and Greenway, Fiala and a second or a late first, something along those lines. Personally, I don't know if I make that trade if I'm on Vancouver's side, but we have a general manager who is desperate to do something. So that might be enough to get it done. But man, getting JT Miller for Kevin Fiala, who is having a bit of an off year this year, And, sort of a secondary piece would be a pretty good haul for the Minnesota Wild. Edmund saying IMAC is right. Moral victories don't count anymore. Tonight was a better effort, but it's too late now. Too late now. Yeah, that's what I said off the top. Again, moral victories can only get you so far. At some point, you have to go out and you have to win the damn game. And the Canucks are not winning the damn game. And all right, we are going to wrap up here. Thank you all for coming out tonight. If you guys want to hang out with me tomorrow, I might be streaming some NHL tomorrow on my Twitch stream. So go follow that in the description, twitch.tv/ParkersPucks. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, follow me on Twitter, do all that good stuff. Shout out to our members. Let me pull the members up real quick. Our backstage folks, who are the OGs here. Shannon, Terry, Kurt, Lucas, thank you guys very much for supporting the stream and all of our other VIPs. If you're interested in joining that, getting a couple special perks, click that join button down below. Other than that, we are going to talk to you after the Canucks and the Bruins. I might drop a video tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell and do all that good stuff. All the YouTube stuff. Smash the like button. You guys know the deal. Anyways, that's it for me. Have a good night, and I will talk to you in the next one.